My name is Jordan Clark. I just turned 18 3 months ago, and I thought becoming an adult meant finally having the freedom to make my own choices. Instead, it meant finally being old enough to discover that my father had given away my entire college fund to his girlfriend's son, and that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect your future are the ones who will sacrifice it for their own convenience. I was supposed to be starting my freshman year at Colorado State University in Fort Collins this fall, majoring in mechanical engineering with a full scholarship covering tuition and a personal savings account containing $31,473 that I had earned working 3 different jobs since I was 14 years old. Instead, I was sitting in the offices of Brennan and Associates Legal Services in downtown Denver, explaining to attorney Michael Brennan how my own father had stolen my life savings and given it to a 17-year-old boy I had never met, and why I was prepared to sue my own family to get my money back. My father, Thomas Clark, was a 43-year-old electrician who had been raising me as a single parent since my mother died of breast cancer when I was 11 years old. For 7 years, it had been just the 2 of us in our small 2-bedroom house in Arvada, Colorado, and I thought we had built a relationship based on mutual respect and shared goals for my future. I was wrong about both the respect and the shared goals. My mother, Sarah Clark, had died when I was in 6th grade, leaving behind a life insurance policy that paid for her funeral expenses and a small college fund that she had started for me when I was born. The fund contained about $8,000 when she died, and my father had promised me that he would never touch that money because it was specifically intended for my education. "Your mother wanted you to go to college more than anything else in the world," he told me after her funeral, when we were sorting through her belongings and making decisions about what to keep and what to donate. "She worked extra shifts at the hospital for years to save money for your education, and that fund is sacred. It belongs to you, and it will always belong to you." That promise meant everything to me during the difficult years that followed my mother's death, while my father struggled with grief and I struggled with being a motherless kid in middle school. The knowledge that my mother had left me something to build my future on provided stability and hope during the darkest period of our lives. But $8,000, even with compound interest over 7 years, was not going to be enough to cover 4 years of college expenses, room and board, textbooks, and living costs. So when I turned 14 and was legally old enough to work in Colorado, I got my first part-time job and started saving every penny I could earn toward my education. My first job was working as a busboy at Romano's Italian restaurant on weekends and during school breaks. I made minimum wage plus a small share of the tips from the waitstaff, which usually added up to about $60 for a full weekend shift. It was not much money, but it was a start. Every dollar you save now is an investment in your future. My father told me when I brought home my first paycheck and deposited it into the college savings account we had opened at First National Bank. "Your mother would be so proud to see you working hard and planning ahead." By the time I was 15, I had added a second job working as a stock boy at Henderson Hardware Store 3 afternoons a week after school. The work was physically demanding. Unloading delivery trucks, organizing inventory, helping customers load heavy items into their cars. But it paid $9 an hour, which was better than minimum wage, and Mr. Henderson was flexible about my schedule during exam periods and school events. "Jordan's the most reliable teenager I've ever hired," Mr. Henderson told my father during one of our quarterly employee reviews. "He shows up on time, works hard, and never complains about difficult tasks. He's going to be successful at whatever he chooses to do." When I turned 16 and got my driver's license, I was able to add a third job working as a delivery driver for Chen's Chinese Kitchen on Thursday and Friday evenings. The job required me to use my own car and pay for my own gas, but the tips were excellent, usually between $15 and $25 per night, and the flexible schedule allowed me to maintain my other two jobs while still keeping up with my studies. Working 3 jobs while maintaining a 3.8 GPA and participating in the robotics club and cross-country track team was exhausting, but I was motivated by watching my college fund grow steadily month after month. By my junior year of high school, I had saved almost $20,000, and I was on track to have enough money to cover all of my college expenses without needing student loans. You're setting yourself up for success, my guidance counselor, Mrs. Patricia Martinez, told me during one of our college planning meetings. Most students graduate with significant debt, but you'll be able to focus on your studies instead of worrying about finances. It's been worth all the hard work, I told her. My mom always said education was the most important investment you could make. She was absolutely right, and you're honoring her memory by working so hard to achieve your educational goals. My father seemed proud of my work ethic and savings discipline throughout my sophomore and junior years of high school. He would often brag to his coworkers and friends about how responsible I was and how much money I had managed to save for college. "Jordan's got more money in the bank than I do," he would tell people with a mixture of pride and amazement. "He's been working 3 jobs since he was 14, and he saves practically every penny he earns." "That's incredible dedication for someone his age," his friend Mike Rodriguez would reply. "Most teenagers spend their paychecks on video games and fast food. Jordan's different. He's got his mother's determination and focus. He knows what he wants, and he's willing to work for it." But something changed during my senior year of high school. My father started dating Rebecca Martinez, a divorced mother of 2 who worked as a receptionist at the electrical contracting company where my father was employed. Rebecca had a 17-year-old son named Marcus and a 15-year-old daughter named Sophia, and she moved into our house with her children in November of my senior year. "Rebecca and I are getting serious," my father told me in October, about 2 months before she moved in. "She's a wonderful woman, and I think it would be good for both of us to have a real family again." "What about the family we already have?" I asked, though I tried to keep my voice neutral and supportive. "You're going to college next year, Jordan. I'm going to be living alone in this house, and Rebecca's lease is up in December. It makes sense for all of us to combine households." "I guess that's okay, as long as everyone respects everyone else's space and belongings." "Of course. Rebecca understands that this is your home too, and that your college fund is off limits. That money belongs to you." I was not thrilled about sharing our small house with 3 additional people, but I tried to be open-minded about the arrangement. Rebecca seemed nice enough, and I thought it might be good for my father to have companionship and emotional support after being single for 7 years. But from the moment Rebecca and her children moved into our house, the dynamic of our family changed in ways that made me increasingly uncomfortable. Rebecca immediately began treating our home as if she were the primary decision-maker, rearranging furniture, redecorating rooms, and establishing new household rules without consulting me or my father. "We need to create a more organized system for chores and responsibilities," she announced during our first family meeting after she moved in. "With 5 people living in this house, we need clear expectations and accountability." "That sounds reasonable," my father said, though I noticed he was letting Rebecca lead the conversation rather than asserting his own authority as the homeowner. "Marcus will be responsible for taking out trash and maintaining the yard. Sophia will handle dishes and general cleaning. Jordan, you'll be responsible for laundry and bathroom maintenance." "What about grocery shopping and meal planning?" I asked. "I'll handle those responsibilities since I have the most experience managing a household budget." I was surprised that Rebecca was making unilateral decisions about how our house would be managed, but I decided to give the arrangement a chance. Maybe she was just trying to establish herself as a contributing member of the household rather than a guest. But over the next several weeks, it became clear that Rebecca viewed her relationship with my father as an opportunity to improve her family's financial situation at the expense of mine. She started making comments about my work schedule and my college savings that suggested she thought I was being selfish by prioritizing my own future over the needs of her children. "Jordan, you're so lucky to have saved so much money for college," she said during dinner one evening in December. "Marcus has been working at Burger King for 6 months, but he's had to spend most of his earnings on clothes and gas for his car. I've been saving for college since I was 14, I replied. "It's taken a lot of discipline and sacrifice." "I'm sure it has, but you have to admit, you've been fortunate to have a father who could provide for all of your basic needs while you saved your earnings. Not everyone has that luxury. My father has provided for my basic needs the same way Marcus's mother provides for his basic needs. But Marcus has additional expenses that you don't have. He needs a car to get to work, and he needs appropriate clothes for social activities with his friends. I have a car that I bought with money I earned, and I buy my own clothes with money I earned. Yes, but you don't have the social obligations that Marcus has. He's trying to fit in at a new school and make new friends." I was not sure what Rebecca was suggesting, but her comments made me uncomfortable because they seemed to imply that my college savings should somehow be available to help with Marcus's expenses. By January of my senior year, Rebecca's comments about my savings had become more direct and frequent. She started suggesting that my college fund was excessive for one person, and that it would be more fair to share some of the money with Marcus, who was also planning to attend college but had not saved any money for that purpose. $30,000 is a lot of money for an 18-year-old to control, she said during one of our family discussions about college planning. Maybe it would be wise to have some adult oversight of how that money is spent. "The money belongs to Jordan," my father said, though his voice lacked the conviction he had shown in previous years. "He earned it through his own hard work." "I understand that, but we're a family now, and families help each other. Marcus is also planning to go to college, but he hasn't had the same opportunities to save money that Jordan has had." "What opportunities are you talking about?" I asked. "I worked 3 jobs and saved every penny I could. Marcus could have done the same thing. Marcus has had different responsibilities and challenges. He's had to help support his mother and sister since his father left. I've had to support myself since my mother died when I was 11. That's different. You've had your father's financial support. Marcus has had to contribute to his family's household expenses." These conversations were becoming increasingly frustrating because Rebecca seemed to believe that Marcus deserved access to money I had earned simply because we were now living in the same house. She acted as if my college fund was a family asset that should be distributed based on need rather than ownership. In February, Rebecca's suggestions became more specific and insistent. She started pressuring my father to establish a family college fund that would be shared between Marcus and me, arguing that it was unfair for one child to have $30,000 while another child had nothing. "We need to think about what's best for both of our children," she told my father during a conversation I overheard from my bedroom. "Jordan has enough money to pay for his entire college education, while Marcus doesn't have anything saved. It would be more equitable to pool their resources. Rebecca, that money belongs to Jordan. He earned it himself over the past 4 years. But now we're a family, and families share resources. Besides, Jordan's going to Colorado State on a full scholarship. He doesn't need $30,000 for tuition. The scholarship covers tuition, but Jordan still needs money for room and board, books, and living expenses. Marcus needs money for the same things, and he doesn't have a scholarship. Maybe Marcus should have applied for scholarships, or saved money from his job, or chosen a less expensive college. That's not fair, Thomas. Marcus didn't have the same advantages Jordan had. What advantages? Jordan worked 3 jobs for 4 years to save that money. Jordan had a stable home environment and a father who could support him while he saved his earnings. Marcus had to deal with his parents' divorce and help support his family. I was disturbed by this conversation because it suggested that Rebecca was actively trying to convince my father to take my college money and give it to her son. But I was even more disturbed by the fact that my father seemed to be wavering in his commitment to protecting my savings. In March, the pressure from Rebecca intensified further. She started talking about Marcus's college plans as if his education was just as much my father's responsibility as mine was, and she began making specific suggestions about how my college fund could be redistributed to benefit both children. Marcus has been accepted to Metro State University, but he needs about $15,000 to cover his first-year expenses, she told my father during dinner one evening. Since Jordan has more than enough money for his education, maybe we could transfer some of his savings to help Marcus get started. I don't think that's appropriate, I said before my father could respond. That money belongs to me, and I earned it specifically for my own education. Jordan, we're a family now, and families help each other. You have much more money than you actually need, and Marcus has none at all. Marcus has had the same opportunities I've had to work and save money. That's not true, and you know it. Marcus has had to deal with challenges and responsibilities that you haven't faced. What challenges? He lives in the same house I do, he goes to the same school I do, and there are plenty of part-time jobs available to teenagers in this area. Marcus has had to provide emotional support to his mother and sister during a difficult divorce. He hasn't had the luxury of focusing solely on his own goals the way you have. I lost my mother when I was 11 years old. I think I understand something about family challenges and emotional support. Rebecca's face flushed with anger. That's completely different, and it's inappropriate for you to compare your situation to Marcus's. Why is it inappropriate? Because my mother died of cancer instead of getting divorced. Because your father was able to provide for all of your needs while you saved your earnings. Marcus's mother was struggling financially and needed his help. My father provides for Marcus's needs now too, and if Marcus's mother needed financial help, maybe she should have worked more hours or found a better paying job instead of expecting her teenage son to support the family. You have no idea what you're talking about, Jordan. You've been spoiled and privileged your entire life. Spoiled? I've been working 3 jobs since I was 14 years old. Because you chose to, not because you had to. There's a big difference. That argument was the beginning of an increasingly hostile relationship between Rebecca and me. She seemed to view me as selfish and entitled for wanting to keep money I had earned for myself, while I viewed her as manipulative and greedy for trying to claim resources that did not belong to her family. But more troubling than my conflict with Rebecca was the change I was seeing in my father's attitude toward my college fund and my future plans. He was becoming less supportive of my independence and more receptive to Rebecca's arguments about family resource sharing. Jordan, maybe Rebecca has a point about helping Marcus with his college expenses, he said during a private conversation in early April. You do have quite a bit of money saved, and Marcus is going to be your stepbrother soon. Dad, that money is mine. I earned it working 3 jobs for 4 years. I know you earned it, but now we're part of a larger family with different needs and obligations. What obligations do I have to Marcus? I barely know him. He's going to be part of our family, Jordan, and families help each other when they can. Marcus isn't my family. He's Rebecca's son. Rebecca and I are planning to get married this summer. that will make Marcus your stepbrother. Even if you get married, that doesn't give Marcus any right to money I earn myself. Nobody's talking about rights. We're talking about doing what's best for everyone in the family. What's best for everyone is for people to take responsibility for their own finances and their own futures. Jordan, that's a very selfish attitude. It's not selfish to want to keep money I worked for. It would be selfish for me to take money that Marcus earned, but that's not what's happening here. Rebecca's children didn't have the same opportunities you had. What opportunities? The opportunity to work 3 jobs, the opportunity to save money instead of spending it. Those are choices, not opportunities. The opportunity to have a father who could provide for all of your basic needs while you saved your earnings. You provided for my basic needs the same way Rebecca provided for Marcus's basic needs when they lived in their own apartment. It's different now. We're all living together as one family. Dad, are you seriously considering taking my college money and giving it to Marcus? My father was quiet for a long time before answering. I'm considering what would be most fair for everyone involved. What would be most fair is for everyone to pay for their own college education with money they earn themselves. Jordan, I need you to be more flexible about this. Rebecca and her children are important to me, and I want to make sure everyone feels welcome and supported. I feel welcome and supported when you respect my property and my rights. I don't feel welcome when my stepmother-to-be is trying to steal my college fund. Rebecca isn't trying to steal anything. She's trying to create a family where everyone's needs are considered equally. My needs were considered when I worked 3 jobs to save money for college. Marcus's needs can be considered when he gets a job and starts saving money for his own education. That conversation was a turning point in my relationship with my father. For the first time in my life, I realized that he was not automatically on my side, and that his new relationship was changing his priorities in ways that threatened my future. 2 weeks later, while I was at work at Romano's restaurant, my father and Rebecca made a decision that would destroy our relationship permanently and force me to take legal action to protect my rights. They went to First National Bank, where my college fund was held in a joint account with my father as the adult cosigner, and they withdrew $15,000 to pay for Marcus's first-year college expenses at Metro State University. I discovered the theft when I went to the bank the following Monday to make my weekly deposit from my weekend earnings. When I asked for my account balance, the teller, Mrs. Linda Johnson, looked confused. Jordan, there was a significant withdrawal from your account last Friday. Your current balance is $16,473. I stared at her in shock. What do you mean, a significant withdrawal? I didn't authorize any withdrawals. Your father came in with a withdrawal slip for $15,000. Since he's the adult cosigner on the account, he has withdrawal privileges. He withdrew $15,000? Why? I'm not privy to the details of your family's financial decisions, Jordan, but the withdrawal was legitimate according to our account policies. I felt sick to my stomach. My father had taken almost half of my college fund without my permission, and without even informing me of his intention to do so. When I got home from the bank, my father and Rebecca were waiting for me in the living room, clearly anticipating my reaction to the discovery of the missing money. Jordan, we need to talk, my father said before I could say anything. You stole my money. We didn't steal anything. We made a family financial decision that benefits everyone. How does taking my college fund benefit me? We took $15,000 to help Marcus pay for his first year at Metro State. You still have more than enough money for your expenses at Colorado State. That money doesn't belong to Marcus. It belongs to me. Jordan, we're a family now, and families help each other. Marcus needed help with college expenses, and you had money available to provide that help. I didn't agree to provide that help. You took my money without my permission. I'm your father and the cosigner on your account. I have the legal right to make decisions about how that money is used. Legal right doesn't make it morally right. That money represents 4 years of my labor. And now it's going to help give Marcus the same educational opportunities you've had. Marcus has had the same opportunities I've had. He chose not to work and save money the way I did. Rebecca, who had been silent during this exchange, finally spoke up. Jordan, you need to understand that Marcus has been through a lot of trauma with his parents' divorce. He hasn't had the emotional stability to focus on saving money the way you have. I lost my mother when I was 11 years old. If I could work and save money despite that trauma, Marcus could have done the same thing. That's completely different, and you know it. How is it different? Because your father was able to provide emotional and financial stability for you. Marcus's father abandoned the family and left his mother struggling to support 2 children. And now Marcus's mother has found a man who's willing to steal from that man's son to support her son. How is that different from abandonment? We're not stealing from you, my father said angrily. We're making a decision about family resources. Family resources that I earned with my own labor over 4 years. Jordan, you need to accept that you're part of a larger family now with different needs and obligations. I don't accept that, and I'm not going to let you steal my college fund to pay for your girlfriend's son's education. What are you going to do about it? Rebecca asked with a smug expression that suggested she thought I was powerless to challenge their decision. I'm going to get my money back. How? Your father is the cosigner on the account. He has every legal right to manage that money. We'll see about that. The next morning, I called in sick to all 3 of my jobs and spent the day researching my legal options for recovering stolen funds from family members. What I discovered was both encouraging and disturbing. On the encouraging side, I learned that even though my father was the adult cosigner on my savings account, the fact that I had deposited my own earned wages into the account created a legal claim of ownership that could be enforced through civil litigation. On the disturbing side, I learned that pursuing legal action against my own father would be expensive, time-consuming, and would likely destroy whatever remained of our relationship. But I also learned something that gave me hope. Colorado has strong laws protecting minors' earned income from parental appropriation, and several recent court cases had established precedent for teenagers successfully suing parents who had stolen money the teenagers had earned through employment. After researching my options, I decided to consult with an attorney before making any final decisions about legal action. I used some of my remaining savings to pay for a consultation with Michael Brennan, a lawyer who specialized in family financial disputes and had successfully represented several teenagers in cases involving parental theft of earned income. Jordan, this is unfortunately a more common situation than most people realize, Mr. Brennan told me during our initial consultation. Parents sometimes feel entitled to money their children have earned, especially when the parents are facing financial pressures or when family dynamics change due to divorce, remarriage, or other circumstances. Do I have a valid legal claim to get my money back? Based on what you've told me, yes. You deposited wages you earned through employment into an account specifically designated for your college education, even though your father was the cosigner. The source of the funds and their intended purpose create a strong legal claim of ownership. What would be involved in pursuing that claim? We would file a civil lawsuit against your father for conversion of your property. Conversion is the legal term for someone taking possession of property that belongs to someone else without permission. How long would that process take? Probably 6 to 8 months, depending on whether your father chooses to contest the lawsuit or settle out of court. How much would it cost? My fee for this type of case would be $3,000, plus court costs of about $500. That's a lot of money. It is. But you're trying to recover $15,000. Even after legal fees, you would recover most of your stolen funds. What are the chances of success? Based on the facts you've described, I would estimate our chances of success at about 85%. Colorado courts are generally sympathetic to minors whose parents have appropriated their earned income, especially when the money was clearly intended for educational purposes. What would happen to my relationship with my father if I sued him? I won't lie to you, Jordan. Suing a parent almost always results in permanent damage to the relationship. You need to decide whether recovering your money is worth the cost of losing your father. I think I already lost my father when he chose his girlfriend's son over his own son. That afternoon, I went home and informed my father and Rebecca that I was planning to sue them for the return of my money. "You're going to sue your own father?" Rebecca asked in disbelief. "I'm going to sue the person who stole $15,000 from me. The fact that he happens to be my father doesn't change the legal reality of what he did." "Jordan, be reasonable," my father said. "We can work this out as a family. We can work it out by you returning my money. The money is already spent. Marcus used it to pay his tuition and fees for fall semester. Then you'll have to find another way to pay Marcus's college expenses. Where are we supposed to get $15,000? That's not my problem. You should have thought about that before you stole my money. We didn't steal your money. We made a family decision. A decision that you made without consulting me and without my consent. That's theft." "Jordan, you're being ridiculous," Rebecca said. "Marcus needed that money for college, and you had plenty to share." "Rebecca, this conversation is over. I'll be communicating through my attorney from now on." "Your attorney? You hired an attorney?" "I consulted with an attorney, and I'll be hiring him to represent me in a lawsuit against my father for conversion of my property." "This is insane," my father said. "You're going to destroy our family over money. You destroyed our family when you stole my college fund to pay for your girlfriend's son's education. Marcus is going to be your stepbrother. Marcus is a stranger who is benefiting from theft of my property. The fact that his mother is sleeping with my father doesn't change that. Jordan, you need to calm down and think about this rationally." "I am thinking rationally. I worked 3 jobs for 4 years to save money for college. You stole half of that money and gave it to someone else. I'm going to sue you to get it back. What if we can't afford to pay you back? Then you'll have to sell something, or get a loan, or declare bankruptcy. That's what happens when you steal money you can't afford to replace. You would bankrupt your own father over this." "Dad, you made the decision to steal from me. I'm just trying to recover what belongs to me." 2 days later, I signed a retainer agreement with Michael Brennan and authorized him to file a civil lawsuit against my father for $15,000, plus interest, court costs, and attorney fees. The lawsuit was filed in Jefferson County District Court under the case title, Jordan Clark versus Thomas Clark, Civil Action for Conversion of Property. The complaint alleged that my father had unlawfully converted my personal property, the money in my college savings account, to his own use and to the use of third parties, Marcus and Rebecca. My father was served with legal papers at his workplace, which was embarrassing for him and created problems with his employer. Apparently, having an employee involved in a lawsuit with his own minor child raised questions about his judgment and reliability. "Jordan, this lawsuit is causing problems for me at work," my father told me during a phone conversation a week after he was served. "My boss is asking questions about why I'm being sued by my own son. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole my money. Can we settle this without going to court? You can settle it by returning my $15,000 plus the interest it would have earned plus my legal fees. I don't have $15,000. Then you'll have to find a way to get it. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? You could get a second job, or take out a loan, or ask Rebecca to contribute, since she was involved in the decision to steal my money. Rebecca doesn't have that kind of money either. Then you'll have to explain to a judge why you thought it was appropriate to steal money you couldn't afford to replace. Jordan, please, let's try to work this out as a family. We stopped being a family when you chose Rebecca and Marcus over me. The legal discovery process began in August, just as I was starting my freshman year at Colorado State University. During discovery, my attorney was able to obtain bank records, employment records, and financial documents that revealed the full extent of my father's financial irresponsibility and the calculations behind his decision to steal my college fund. What we discovered was even more disturbing than the original theft. My father had not just taken my money to pay for Marcus's college. He had taken it to cover his own debts and expenses related to his relationship with Rebecca. The bank records showed that of the $15,000 withdrawn from my account, only $8,000 had actually gone toward Marcus's college expenses. The remaining $7,000 had been used to pay off credit card debts that my father had accumulated buying expensive gifts for Rebecca and her children, financing a vacation to Las Vegas, and covering the costs of their wedding, which had taken place in June without my knowledge or attendance. Jordan, this is even worse than we originally thought. Michael Brennan told me after reviewing the financial documents we had obtained during discovery. Your father didn't just steal your money to help Marcus with college. He stole it to fund his own lifestyle and his relationship with Rebecca. So he lied to me about why he took the money. It appears that way. According to these records, Marcus's college expenses were $8,000, but your father took $15,000. The additional $7,000 went toward personal expenses. Can we use this information in the lawsuit? Absolutely. It shows that your father's decision to take your money was not motivated by Marcus's educational needs, but by his own financial irresponsibility. Will this affect the outcome of the case? It should. Judges are generally unsympathetic to adults who steal from minors to fund personal luxuries. If you're starting to understand how betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from the people who are supposed to protect you, then you'll want to hear how this legal battle exposed even more shocking secrets about my father's character. Sometimes when you stand up for yourself, you discover truths that change everything you thought you knew about your own family. Subscribe, because what came next will show you that fighting for justice sometimes reveals more than you bargained for. The trial was scheduled for November, about 4 months after I had started college. During those months, I tried to focus on my studies and adjust to university life, but the stress of the ongoing legal battle with my father was emotionally exhausting. My dormitory roommate, Alex Thompson, was a mechanical engineering major from Grand Junction who became one of my closest friends during freshman year. Alex knew about my legal situation and was incredibly supportive during the most difficult periods of the lawsuit. Jordan, I can't imagine having to sue my own father, Alex told me during one of our late-night conversations about family and money. That must be incredibly painful. It is. But what choice did I have? He stole my college fund and lied to me about why he took it. Have you considered that maybe he was just desperate and made a bad decision? The financial records show that he spent $7,000 of my money on personal luxuries. That's not desperation, that's theft. Still, he's your dad. Don't you want to maintain some kind of relationship with him? Alex, my father chose his girlfriend and her children over his own son. He stole money I earned working 3 jobs, and then he lied about why he took it. What kind of relationship can you build on that foundation? I don't know. I just think family relationships are worth fighting for. I agree. That's why I'm fighting to recover money he stole from me. These conversations with Alex helped me process the emotional complexity of suing my own father while also reinforcing my conviction that I was doing the right thing. Alex's perspective as an outside observer helped me understand that my situation was not normal and that my father's behavior was not excusable simply because he was family. As the trial date approached, my attorney received settlement offers from my father's lawyer. The offers started at $5,000, then increased to $8,000, then $10,000 as it became clear that my case was strong and my father was likely to lose at trial. "Jordan, your father is now offering to settle for $12,000, Michael Brennan told me during a phone call in late October. That's almost the full amount of the original theft, and it would avoid the uncertainty and expense of going to trial. What about my legal fees? The settlement offer doesn't include legal fees. You would be responsible for the $3,000 you owe me. So I would recover $12,000 of the $15,000 he stole, but I would pay $3,000 in legal fees, leaving me with a net recovery of $9,000? That's correct. What do you think I should do? It's your decision, but I think we have a strong case and could potentially recover the full $15,000 plus legal fees if we go to trial. What's the risk of going to trial? There's always some risk in litigation, but based on the evidence we've gathered, I'm confident we would win. The bigger question is whether your father actually has the ability to pay a judgment if we win. What do you mean? If the court orders your father to pay $15,000, but he doesn't have that much money, you might win the case, but still not recover your funds. Do we know anything about his financial situation? From the documents we've obtained, it appears that your father has significant debts and limited assets. Even if we win at trial, collecting the judgment might be difficult. So I might have to choose between accepting a lower settlement now or winning at trial, but not being able to collect the full amount. That's a possibility. It's one of the realities of litigation. Winning and collecting are two different things. I decided to reject the settlement offer and proceed to trial. I wanted a public record of what my father had done, and I wanted a judge to determine the appropriate consequences for his theft. I want to go to trial, I told Michael Brennan. Even if I don't recover the full amount, I want a legal judgment that establishes what happened and holds my father accountable. Are you sure? Settlement would give you certainty about recovering most of your money. I'm sure. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about establishing the truth and getting justice. The trial took place over 2 days in Jefferson County District Court, with Judge Patricia Martinez presiding. My father was represented by Robert Anderson, a family law attorney who had been hired by Rebecca's brother to help with the case. The courtroom was small and sterile, with fluorescent lighting and wood-paneled walls that gave it a formal but impersonal atmosphere. About a dozen observers were present, including Rebecca, Marcus, Sophia, and several of my father's co-workers who had come to show support. I was nervous about testifying in court, but Michael Brennan had prepared me thoroughly for the experience of being questioned by both attorneys and having to explain my version of events to a judge. "Jordan, tell the court about your employment history and your college savings plan," my attorney said during my direct examination. "I started working when I was 14 years old because I wanted to save money for college. My mother had started a small college fund for me before she died, but it wasn't enough to cover 4 years of university expenses." "What jobs did you work?" "I worked as a busboy at Romano's Italian restaurant on weekends, as a stock boy at Henderson hardware store after school, and as a delivery driver for Chen's Chinese kitchen in the evenings." "How much money were you able to save through these jobs?" "By my senior year of high school, I had saved $31,473. "What did you plan to use this money for?" "College expenses that weren't covered by my scholarship, room and board, textbooks, living expenses, and emergency funds." Did you ever give your father permission to use this money for other purposes? No, never. The money was specifically saved for my education, and my father knew that. What did you discover when you went to the bank in May? I discovered that my father had withdrawn $15,000 from my account without my knowledge or consent. How did that make you feel? Betrayed and angry. I had worked 3 jobs for 4 years to save that money, and my father had stolen it without even telling me. During cross-examination, my father's attorney tried to portray the situation as a family financial decision rather than theft, and suggested that my father had been trying to help both of his children rather than favoring one over the other. Jordan, isn't it true that your father was trying to create fairness between you and Marcus by sharing college resources? Mr. Anderson asked. No, that's not true. My father was taking money I had earned and giving it to someone else's child. But Marcus was about to become your stepbrother. Didn't your father have an obligation to treat both of you fairly? My father's obligation was to respect my property rights and keep his promises to me about my college fund. Isn't it true that you had much more money saved than you actually needed for college? I saved money to give myself financial security and options. I didn't save it so Marcus could avoid working the way I had worked. But you had a full scholarship to Colorado State University. Why did you need $30,000 if your tuition was already paid? Because college costs more than just tuition. I needed money for room and board, books, supplies, and living expenses. I also wanted to have emergency funds in case something unexpected happened. Couldn't you have shared some of that money with Marcus, while still keeping enough for your own needs? I could have chosen to give Marcus some of my money, but that should have been my choice to make, not my father's decision to make for me. Are you saying that family members shouldn't help each other when they can? I'm saying that helping each other should be voluntary, not forced. My father stole my money and gave it to someone else. That's not helping. That's theft. When my father testified in his own defense, he admitted to taking the money, but claimed that he had been trying to balance the needs of both children and create a fair distribution of family resources. Thomas, why did you withdraw $15,000 from Jordan's account? His attorney asked. Because Rebecca and I felt that it was unfair for one child to have so much money while another child had nothing. We were trying to create balance and fairness in our family. Did you intend to harm Jordan by making this decision? Absolutely not. Jordan still had more than enough money for his college expenses. We were just redistributing some of the excess to help Marcus. How did you determine that Jordan had excess money? Jordan had over $30,000 saved, and his scholarship covered his tuition. We calculated that $15,000 would be more than enough for his remaining college expenses. Did you discuss this decision with Jordan before withdrawing the money? We tried to have family discussions about sharing resources, but Jordan was not receptive to the idea of helping Marcus. Why do you think Jordan was not receptive? I think Jordan had gotten selfish about money because he had been saving for so long. He couldn't see the bigger picture of what was best for the family. During cross-examination, Michael Brennan systematically destroyed my father's claims about fairness and family resource sharing. Mr. Clark, you said you were trying to create fairness between the children. Did Marcus work 3 jobs to save money for college? Marcus had a part-time job at Burger King. Did Marcus save the money he earned from that job for college? Marcus had other expenses and obligations. So Jordan worked 3 jobs and saved his money, while Marcus worked 1 job and spent his money, and you decided that fairness required taking Jordan's savings and giving them to Marcus? It's more complicated than that. Is it? Let's look at the bank records. Of the $15,000 you took from Jordan's account, how much actually went to Marcus's college expenses? About $8,000. What happened to the other $7,000? There were other family expenses that needed to be covered. What kind of family expenses? Credit card bills, wedding costs, various household expenses. So you took Jordan's college money to pay for your wedding and your credit card debts. Those were legitimate family expenses. Were they Jordan's expenses? Jordan is part of the family. Mr. Clark, did Jordan agree to pay for your wedding with his college savings? We didn't specifically discuss that. Did you tell Jordan that you were taking his money to pay for your wedding? No, but did you tell Jordan that you were taking his money to pay off your credit card debts? No. So you lied to Jordan about why you were taking his money. I simplified the explanation to avoid unnecessary conflict. You lied to him. I tried to explain the situation in a way that would be easier for him to understand. Mr. Clark, you told Jordan that you took his money to pay for Marcus's college expenses. But according to these bank records, less than half of the money actually went to Marcus. The rest went to pay for your personal expenses. That's not simplification. That's deception, isn't it? I was trying to avoid making Jordan feel like his money was being wasted on unnecessary things. So you admit that Jordan would have considered your wedding and credit card payments to be unnecessary uses of his college savings? Jordan might have had difficulty understanding the complexity of family financial planning. Mr. Clark, isn't it true that you took Jordan's money because you needed it to pay debts you couldn't afford, and then you lied to him about where the money went because you knew he would be angry about you using his college fund to pay for your personal expenses? My father was quiet for a long time before answering. I made decisions that I thought were best for the family as a whole. That's not what I asked you. Did you take Jordan's money to pay debts you couldn't afford? Yes. And did you lie to Jordan about where the money went? I didn't tell him all the details, but I didn't think that was necessary. You lied to him. Yes. That admission was the turning point in the trial. Once my father acknowledged that he had lied to me about the reasons for taking my money, his credibility was destroyed, and his claims about family fairness became meaningless. Judge Martinez deliberated for about 30 minutes before delivering her verdict. This case involves a parent's decision to appropriate money that his minor child had earned through employment and saved for college expenses, she said from the bench. While parents generally have broad authority over their children's financial affairs, that authority does not extend to taking money that children have earned themselves for clearly stated purposes. The court finds that Jordan Clark earned the money in question through his own labor over a period of 4 years, and that he deposited this money into an account specifically designated for his college education. The fact that his father was a co-signer on the account did not give him the right to appropriate those funds for other purposes without Jordan's consent. Furthermore, the court finds that Thomas Clark's testimony about his motivations for taking the money was not credible. The evidence shows that he used Jordan's money not just to help Marcus with college expenses, but to pay his own personal debts and wedding costs. His failure to disclose these facts to Jordan demonstrates a pattern of deception that undermines his claims about acting in the family's best interests. The court therefore finds in favor of Jordan Clark and orders Thomas Clark to pay damages of $15,000 plus interest calculated from the date of the withdrawal. The court also orders Thomas Clark to pay Jordan's attorney fees and court costs. Mr. Clark, you betrayed your son's trust and violated your obligations as a parent. Children should be able to rely on their parents to protect their interests, not exploit them for personal gain. Your actions were not only legally wrong, but morally reprehensible. I felt a mixture of relief and sadness as I listened to Judge Martinez's verdict. I was relieved to have won the case and to have my version of events validated by the court, but I was sad about the permanent damage that had been done to my relationship with my father. As we left the courthouse, My father approached me in the parking lot for what would be our final conversation. "Jordan, I hope you're satisfied with what you've accomplished," he said, his voice full of bitterness and resentment. "I'm satisfied that justice was done. You destroyed our family for money. Dad, you destroyed our family when you stole my money and lied to me about it. I was trying to do what was best for everyone. You were trying to do what was easiest for you. Taking my money was easier than working extra hours or making sacrifices to pay for Marcus's college. I thought we could work things out as a family. We could have worked things out if you had been honest with me from the beginning. But you chose to lie and steal instead of having an honest conversation. What happens now? Now you pay me the money you owe me, and we go our separate ways. Jordan, I don't have $15,000 plus attorney fees. The judgment is going to bankrupt me. Dad, that's a consequence of your decision to steal money you couldn't afford to replace. What about our relationship? Don't you want to have a father? I wanted a father who would protect my interests and keep his promises to me. Instead, I got a father who stole from me to benefit his girlfriend's children. That's not the kind of father I need in my life. Someday, you might change your mind about that. Maybe, but right now I need to focus on building a life based on honesty and integrity. I can't do that while maintaining a relationship with someone who stole from me and lied about it. That conversation in the courthouse parking lot was the last time I spoke to my father. He moved out of Colorado 6 months later to avoid wage garnishment and asset seizure related to the court judgment. I never saw him again. The legal victory was satisfying, but collecting the judgment was more difficult than winning the case. My father had limited assets and income, and he was obviously trying to avoid paying what he owed me. Over the next 2 years, I was able to collect about $11,000 through wage garnishment and asset seizure, but I never recovered the full amount. Unfortunately, this is common in cases where the defendant doesn't have significant assets. Michael Brennan explained when it became clear that I was not going to collect the full judgment. Winning a lawsuit and collecting the money are two different challenges. I'm disappointed about not getting all of my money back, but I'm glad I pursued the case anyway. Why is that? Because it established the truth about what happened and held my father accountable for his actions. Even if I didn't recover every penny, I proved that he was wrong and I was right. That's a mature way to look at the situation. A lot of people in your position would be bitter about not collecting the full judgment. I learned something important from this experience. Sometimes doing the right thing is more important than achieving the perfect outcome. During my sophomore year at Colorado State, I used some of the money I had recovered to start a small scholarship fund for students who had overcome family financial challenges to attend college. The Sarah Clark Memorial Scholarship, named in honor of my mother, provided $1,000 annually to a student who had worked to put themselves through school despite difficult family circumstances. My mother always believed that education was the most important investment you could make, I said during the scholarship fund's inaugural ceremony. This scholarship is intended to help students who share that belief and are willing to work hard to achieve their educational goals. The scholarship fund attracted attention from local media, which led to feature stories about my legal battle with my father and my decision to turn a negative experience into something positive. Most teenagers who win a lawsuit against a parent would probably spend the money on themselves, wrote Fort Collins, Coloradoan reporter Jennifer Martinez. Instead, Jordan Clark is using his legal victory to help other students overcome family financial challenges. The media attention led to speaking invitations at high school career fairs and financial literacy seminars, where I shared my experience working multiple jobs to save for college and the importance of protecting your financial interests, even from family members. Working 3 jobs while maintaining good grades and participating in extracurricular activities was exhausting. I would tell audiences of high school students, but it taught me the value of hard work and the importance of taking responsibility for my own future. The most important lesson I learned from my experience is that you cannot depend on other people, including family members, to protect your interests. You have to be willing to stand up for yourself and fight for what belongs to you. If someone steals from you, even if they're family, you have the right to take legal action to protect yourself. Don't let anyone convince you that family loyalty requires you to accept abuse or exploitation. These speaking engagements led to consulting opportunities with other teenagers who were dealing with family financial conflicts and needed advice about their legal options. During my junior year, I was contacted by Amanda Rodriguez, a 17-year-old girl from Colorado Springs whose mother had stolen her college savings to pay for her boyfriend's gambling debts. "Jordan, I heard about your case, and I was hoping you could give me some advice," Amanda said during our initial phone consultation. "My mother took $12,000 from my college fund to pay off her boyfriend's debts, and she's refusing to return the money. Have you talked to a lawyer?" "I can't afford a lawyer, and my mother says I don't have any legal rights because I'm still a minor." "That's not true. Minors have legal rights to money they've earned through employment, even if parents are co-signers on their accounts." "Do you think I should sue my mother the way you sued your father?" "That's a decision only you can make, but I can tell you that it was the right decision for me. I recovered most of my money, and I proved that what my father did was wrong." "What was the hardest part of the process?" "The hardest part was accepting that my father was not going to do the right thing voluntarily. I had to choose between recovering my money and maintaining a relationship with him." "Do you regret suing your father?" "Never. He stole from me and lied about it. I don't regret holding him accountable for his actions." Amanda eventually decided to pursue legal action against her mother, and with my help connecting her to appropriate legal resources, she was able to recover most of her stolen college funds. "Jordan, thank you for showing me that it was possible to fight back," Amanda told me after her case was resolved. "I never would have had the courage to sue my mother if I hadn't known that someone else had done the same thing and succeeded. You should be proud of yourself for standing up for your rights. That takes real courage." What advice would you give to other teenagers who are dealing with family financial conflicts? I would tell them that family relationships should be based on mutual respect and trust. If family members are stealing from you or exploiting you, they're not acting like family. They're acting like criminals, and you have the right to protect yourself from criminals, even if they happen to share your DNA. By my senior year at Colorado State, I had established myself as an advocate for teenagers' financial rights and had helped more than a dozen students recover money that had been stolen by family members. Jordan Clark has turned a personal tragedy into a mission to help other young people protect themselves from financial exploitation, wrote Denver Post reporter Michael Chun in a feature story about my advocacy work. His willingness to share his story and provide guidance to other students has made him a leader in the emerging movement to protect teenagers' financial rights. I graduated from Colorado State University with a degree in mechanical engineering and a minor in business law. During my 4 years in college, I had maintained a 3.7 GPA while working part-time jobs to replace the income one had lost when I stopped working 3 jobs in high school. More importantly, I had developed a sense of self-confidence and independence that came from knowing that I could protect myself and stand up for my rights even against family members who were supposed to protect me. "Jordan, you've accomplished something remarkable during your time here," Dr. Sarah Williams, my academic advisor, told me during our final meeting before graduation. "You've not only succeeded academically and professionally, but you've also become a leader and advocate for other students." My experience taught me that Sometimes the most important thing you can do is refuse to be a victim, even when the people hurting you are family members. What are your plans after graduation? I've been accepted to graduate school in mechanical engineering, and I'm also planning to continue my advocacy work for teenagers' financial rights. I want to help other young people avoid the situation I went through. That's admirable. Do you ever think about reconciling with your father? I think about it sometimes, but I don't see how that would be possible without him acknowledging what he did and making amends for it. And based on our last conversation, he's not willing to do either of those things. That must be difficult for you. It is, but I've learned that you can't control other people's choices. You can only control your own response to their choices. Today, I am 25 years old and work as a mechanical engineer for a renewable energy company in Denver. I also run a nonprofit organization called the Student Financial Rights Foundation, which provides legal assistance and advocacy for teenagers whose family members have stolen their earned income or college savings. The foundation has helped recover over $200,000 in stolen funds for teenage victims of family financial abuse. I told the Denver Business Journal in a recent interview about our work. More importantly, we've shown dozens of young people that they have rights and options when family members try to exploit them financially. The foundation operates on a simple principle that I learned from my own experience. Family relationships should be based on mutual respect and trust, and when family members violate that trust, they should face consequences just like anyone else would. We teach young people that they have the right to protect their property and their financial interests, even from family members. I explain during presentations to high school students. Family loyalty doesn't require you to accept theft or abuse. Looking back on that 18-year-old boy who discovered that his father had stolen his college fund, I'm proud of the choices he made and the principles he maintained during a difficult family crisis. My father chose to steal from his own son rather than work harder or make sacrifices to support his new family's financial needs. That choice revealed his true character and priorities in a way that no amount of conversation or counseling could have changed. By standing up for my rights and refusing to accept his theft, I not only recovered most of my money, but also learned that I was capable of protecting myself and fighting for justice, even when it meant losing family relationships. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is hold them accountable for their actions. I tell the students who seek advice from our foundation, enabling someone's bad behavior doesn't help them. It just makes it easier for them to continue hurting other people. If you are facing a situation where family members are stealing from you, exploiting you, or asking you to sacrifice your future for their convenience, I want you to remember my story. You have rights, you have options, and you deserve to be treated with respect by the people who claim to love you. Sometimes the most mature thing a young adult can do is recognize when family relationships have become toxic and take action to protect themselves. Sometimes growing up means learning that DNA doesn't automatically entitle people to your trust, your money, or your loyalty. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is sue your own father. Thank you for listening to my story of growing up faster than I ever wanted to. I've left 2 more stories on your screen, both from young men who learned that sometimes becoming an adult doesn't happen at 18. It happens the moment your family needs you to be strong. Click on whichever one speaks to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it's like to be forced to grow up overnight, that notification bell is waiting. Until tomorrow, remember, age is just a number, but courage defines who you really are.